wanted to take a moment and talk about the really rough days in the beginning stages. And this doesn't necessarily matter whether you leave or whether your soon-to-be ex leaves. When this happens, it can really blindside you. Now, if your entire existence is wrapped around your relationship, around your family, when that falls apart, and it's one of those things where it's kind of a double whammy. First, you have the falling apart of your relationship, and then you have the realization that the relationship was never really what you thought it was. Now you have to be really careful at this stage, because everything that you value, everything that was important to you, slowly starts getting peeled away. And initially it starts as just the loss of the relationship and the family unit. And you can think in the beginning stages of that that's really the main thing that you're dealing with. And as it progresses on and you realize that your reputation's being smeared, that they're trying to go after you for different things to just validate their need for control, their need to maintain the victim status, and that can be doubly, triply, devastating. There's not really a magic pill that I can throw out there to make that part feel any better. And what I can tell you from my situation, in my particular situation, every time I thought I had my head wrapped around what was going on and what was happening, there would be like another shoe that would drop. Initially I thought that the relationship was just falling apart because she didn't care about the relationship or me. Then I thought that we could co-parent and would still be able to maintain some civil interaction for the good of the kids. Then she started, going after doing the smear campaign and basically trying to do anything and everything possible to try to paint me as a person that shouldn't be around the kids, to give her a higher status within family court, to ultimately be able to have more custody, to be able to move away, and to get more money. Now, when all of these things happen, it feels like you're being sucker punched, and it seems like every time you turn around, there's some other scenario that's being thrown in your face that completely just is devastating. And the odd part about this is that, what you're hit with today feels more devastating than what you were hit with the previous week, but what you were hit with the previous week felt the most devastating, and the prior week was the most devastating. So it's this running battle where you're constantly being hit by information, knowledge, and awareness, I guess, if you want to call it that, of what you're dealing with and how negative it really is. Okay, so you may be listening to this and thinking, yes, that's exactly what I'm going through. So now what, right? And it can feel like there really isn't an answer. And unfortunately, there's not a really good answer that's going to make it feel any better in the moment. But what I can tell you is that it takes time to disentangle yourself from that relationship. And there's nothing that you can do to make another person love you the way you want, or to love you, period, and to conform into what your illusion of what you hope the relationship would be. Couple that with not having time with your kids, having limited visitation, if any, and if you're there with just your thoughts, those thoughts can really start to play a game on you and drive you into a serious depression. And if you're already really stressed and really anxious and not feeling 100%, which most of us in these situations aren't, then that's a really dangerous mix. And if you find yourself in that position, you owe it to yourself to try to get some help. I mean, these channels help. I mean, YouTube channels with videos about this can be very helpful. The best part about them is you can play them anytime you need to. If you're having a problem, if you find a video that talks to you, you can listen to it multiple times to help drive whatever point you're struggling with home. But don't just leave it at that. Seek professional help to help you through it. If you have a support group of family and friends that are actually supportive, utilize that. Now, if you have family and friends that are toxic and narcissistic in their own way, then you want to be a little careful of that, because that environment or that situation, you're really vulnerable and they can take advantage of that. So just be cautious and aware of that if you have that situation. And if you find yourself really struggling and feeling like you're at your wit's end, just take a break. Don't make any decisions on anything right now. If anyone is pushing you to make a decision, just take a break. One thing about family court is it's a slow, methodical process, which means very rarely is there any situation to where you need to immediately respond and to spring into action. Now, obviously, if you're in the midst of this, it's good to be collecting data and collecting information to help your attorney or to help your case if you're in that part of it. But what you don't want to do is get yourself to where you're in that feedback loop and everything is just getting louder. Like if getting louder and louder and louder, and you're not getting anywhere. So that used to happen to me. And what I would do in those situations is I would take a break, I would sleep. I've mentioned in the past that when I was really feeling down, I would do something like go to the ocean because that, for whatever reason, that always makes me feel better. But if there's something that gives you peace or calms you down or makes things slow down a bit, that's what you need to do. Bottom line, the early days of this is really, really hard. When you're just starting to realize what's going on, it can feel devastating. Just know you're not alone in this. Just within this channel, with this small community of people, there are a lot of folks who've been through the exact same thing. Reach out in the comments, join a Facebook group, jump in the live stream, have a conversation there, but just know that you're not going through this alone. It may feel like it, but what you're experiencing, the betrayal you're experiencing, unfortunately is not uncommon. There's a reason for it. Even if you're looking at it and you're thinking, what in the world is going on? How did I end up in this point? What did I even do wrong? There's a good, strong possibility you didn't do anything wrong. It could be that the person you're dealing with is just emotionally toxic and there's nothing you could have ever done. There's nothing that you could have ever done to meet their expectations. There are people who live in chaos, who live in drama, and they need that to feel good in their own life. And you could be basically the collateral damage of their chaos. And when you have kids with them, it makes it even more complicated. But you're not alone. Take things slow. Don't give up. Reach out for support. Do everything in your power to try to just make it to the next day. And before you know it, hopefully you'll be like in my situation where, it's hard to look back and believe that I was in that state, that I was in that mode, that I felt that devastated, hopeless, and that things would never get better, and that my situation was a unique mess because I was crazy and that there was no way to get out of this. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this video up, and you know what? I'll chat with you guys in the next video. Take care.